So the question is, do you hear me?
I do.
That's too bad. Okay. Tonight's demo is going to be something different, something you didn't expect. Oops. May not be at all, you know. Let me try that from the inside. I don't want to clip through this thing. This is a tree that has been here on Long Island for quite some time. It was originally, now reading the tag, this was one that Jerry bought when Jerry was still alive. It's a prostrata juniper. It came from Jim Barrett. And in 54, August of 54 was when he first got this tree. Then there was Ben Oakey. And I'm not sure if that was a demo somewhere. It seems like it was in 63. So that's pretty early in Ben Oakey's time period. And it was restyled again by Jim Barrett in 2000. It has the repotting history, the rest of the numbers on there and in the back. It is in a Jim Barrett pot. It is a heavy pot, however, but you know, it's not an impossible heavy. So we've left it alone for a while. I was letting it grow out so we could have something interesting to work on, and Norma has decided that it's not a tree, it's a bigger tree than what she wants to have. So she's looking at having the smaller ones or the real fine ones, and she likes picky little work, which just suits me fine because she does a beautiful job on that. So this one has been allowed to grow. It can get back in really tight, you just have to work on it. This is not the time period to do that. That would be in the spring when it starts to move. What we're going to do to this is change dramatically, hopefully, the way the tree is shaped. This had a long tail on it. It was just not a very nice tail, very long and skinny. After this little bit, there wasn't anything but just almost a straight piece out there. So that was taken off quite some time ago. But it has, as you can see, just some phenomenal movement in the tree. There's a lot going on there, and a lot of foliage up at the top. It's just, to me, scattered too far. So what we're going to work on doing today, getting that gin taken care of so it really looks good, and bringing all this foliage down and compacting it. Okay, so we just have a shorter, more compact tree. Now some of it may not be the right time to do all that heavy work, but it's long enough, it's soft enough up here, I believe I can get it with pulling down. But it'll show you some processes that you probably have not seen before, and we'll have a lot of fun doing it. At least I'll have fun doing it. You may cringe a little bit, but don't worry about it, it can handle it.
You're not going to cut it, are you, Kathy? You're not going to cut it, are you?
I'm not going to, no, I'm not the second person that had his hands on this tree. He likes to he's the fastest wirer in the West, they say, or the fastest wirer, but that's because he cuts off everything but one branch. Not quite, but I like to say that because it looks like it. So the first thing we're going to work on is this gin, because it's going to be in the way if we start to create something at the top and we're coming down on top of it a little bit. So how do you make this look good? It has bark on it right now. It's old bark. It's not going to strip off, so you can't crunch it because it's been dead for quite some time. But underneath that bark will be some wonderful wood, and we'll also bring up some sort of a lifeline or kill part of that line going up, so the lifeline is a little more defined. Where's the front on this tree? At this point, I'm not 100% sure. We've got this nice one. I'll put the little white tag in here. This could work. If I cut anything off of this tree, it may be this branch, which would be ginned out. So from this side, as you're looking at it, you can see this branch is a little more interesting as a dead branch because it comes off from this underside. It's not crossing in front. And I'll show that to everybody. But when you look at it from this side, it just comes right off the front part, which is not as interesting. But the tree wants to grow this way. So we have to make some decisions. and you don't make snap decisions. It's not like, I'm going to do it this way because, it has to be. Look at it and start playing with it. So we do the things that are not as important in the actual styling, and that's a Deadwood. Start working it first. Let's see what this little piece looks like once we remove some of that bark. Until you get that old lifeline that has now since died, showing it dead down into this zone, bringing it across there, you don't get the same feel or the same power in the tree. So we're going to work that up. I used a lot of different clippers. I'm not going to use a chainsaw or anything else on it. I'm just going to pull this away. It's a nice smell to the wood. The what?
No, she's going, wow. I said, it has no meaning.
Is it hot coffee? What? So, LA, I was just down there not but a week ago. I didn't see you. Welcome aboard. How did you hear about the club?
I heard about the club from weekends over here.
Well, good for you. Well, if you have any questions, as they know, I count on the newbies to ask questions because they're afraid to ask them because they know they should know the answer. So it's up to you to inform them. So if you see me doing something and you're not sure what it is, the only way to find out, we're going to do this in the dark? Oh, that's why you didn't want me to stand in front of that nice screen. Oh, good. Okay. Now, as I'm getting down in here, a very pretty little piece has appeared. There was at one time a branch coming out of this area, and it's very dark wood, and you can see that little crevice that's in there. So we may uncover many more interesting pieces. And I have a feeling this little branch is going to find its way into the... Oh, do I have a wastebasket up here? I may need a little.
Kathy, do you ever use power tools?
Oh, I use power tools, but I'm going to be careful on how I use them. I find power tools take too much away from the tree. They go so fast and they cover over things that you can't really see. You've missed them before you know they were there.
Which side?
Oh, just over here. Thank you. In doing this, we're going to stay with the grain. We're going to follow the tree's grain doing this. If you've used power tools, you don't find the grain. You usually cut across it. You do all these funny things. They've put into corkscrews, and the wood is actually going straight, but you have it looking like this. Well, after a while, pieces break off. You can lose. That whole gin can just fall off. So we're going to refine it without using power tools. And you'd be sitting here getting dusty, and my hair would look gray, and that would not please me. I've got another year or two to go yet. Starting to get there a lot. And I'm only 23. Pardon me? Some get gray very early. So even down here, I don't know what length we're going to leave this. I like these extra little pieces. I want to fix them in such a way that they're not going to tear at your skin. Oh, don't you just love the way wood sounds when you crack it and rip it? See, you don't get any of that from the power tool. And then it would be boring because I wouldn't be able to talk. All you'd hear was this. Let the guys do that. Gives me a lot of ammunition, doesn't it? See where my bigger tool is. And not only that, we're doing it with the clippers to get it cleaned off. I have a water bottle for use, and we'll show you how to clean up the gins, how to get down inside and pull out some of that grain to show off that beauty and the age in it. So there's lots of reasons for doing it this way. It just takes, sometimes you think a little longer, but really it doesn't.
Can you take them on the floor, Kathy?
Oh, you probably could. So you have to be really careful where your fingers are. Yeah, well, you know, what's too much? That's everybody's own likes or dislikes. I mean, do they like long, skinny gins? Do you like a gin that has some interest in it? Do you want something short that's tight to the tree? It all depends on what, not just what tree you're doing, but maybe what the style is ultimately going to be, whether you want it long or short. If it gets too long and it doesn't have any movement in it, and there are no other branches on the tree that look like that one, it may not be what you need to do. There was a tree at our convention this last week in Southern California that was, it's too bad, it actually won, but that was because the judges didn't really pay attention to it. It had this massive amount of gin at the bottom, and it was all cleaned off with a Dremel tool. There was no grain or anything showing. It was just this shiny stuff all over and partly up the trunk. And then out of here came this long, wonderful, aged-looking piece of wood. It was magnificent. It was the best piece of gin on that tree. The problem is, it came from another tree. And when you looked underneath to see how that transitioned into the trunk, it was just this blobby looking glue or whatever they used.
Really?
Yes, they glued it.
And that one.
That one?
Well, yes, because some judges don't look as far as they need to. So there was a big hullabaloo over that because actually a different piece supposedly, can't get into politics. It happens. But it's, so you want to make sure that it is whatever happens to your tree in one place probably will happen in a similar way in another place because you're dealing with the same type of wood. That wood didn't even belong to that kind of a juniper. So it was too bad. You know, things do happen. You don't like to see that happen. But I want to make sure that in this club, you're not doing that. So there was a story about that. In Japan, my second year over there probably, at the local club show, there was this one guy who, he was a sweetheart, cute little guy. An older gentleman, not that I was young at the time, but he always wore these pants that kind of bulged out and they were tight at the, kind of the type of pants, huh?
Bicycle pants.
Yeah, but it was more the kind they would use up on the rooftops if they were doing roof work. And he'd come in because he liked to shake my hand. He liked the power in my hand. So that was the first thing he did. So at this show, because he would come to my teacher's place often, he felt he knew me well enough, so he came up to me one time and goes, shh, shh, shh. And he took me down to the other side, and he's pointing to this tree, and he's looking right into the middle of the tree, and he goes, tanuki, tanuki, tanuki. And I said, tanuki? No, that's not tanuki. He says, yes, that's tanuki. And then he explained to me how he did. Tanuki is where you put something on a tree that doesn't belong there. So this was a piece of dead wood that had gone onto the tree. But it was in the middle of an area where it wasn't dead. It had living wood around it. He had gone in beyond the living wood, cut a hole down inside, placed that gin down into that hole, and then allowed the tissue to close up over it so it didn't look like it was.
How did you pick it up?
Oh, he was pointing to it. He was telling me about it. He kept saying tanuki, tanuki, which was one of the words I knew at the time. But it was, he had a lot of fun with it. But if you're doing good bonsai, don't do that. Tree either has it or it doesn't have it. And if it doesn't have it, then you make something work, not by putting another piece on, but finding a different way to design it or pull your eye to it. I'd like to see you take what the tree has and work with it. So let's look at the pot. It's a nice pot, but does it work for this tree? What is it about the pot and the tree that makes it different? It's a cascade pot, which this tree is going to be maybe more semi-cascade, but it was a cascade when it went into it. What else?
The tree's almost the same width as the pond, it looks like.
Well, that's not too bad. There's something else about it. I'm just trying to improve what you see.
It's squared off, whereas
It-
there's so much roundness in this.
Very, very squared, very simple looking. Nothing interesting about the pot. The color is even a light color. So what is that showing off? It's going to show off the lighter color bark, which is just grayed from water. It doesn't have anything about this tree. There's no movement in here. There's no little brush strokes. The feet are just simple and plain. If they were sitting underneath, it would be better. I mean, this would be nice on a good-sized cascade that has some power to it. But at this point, it's not needed. So you're going to get not just a nice pot to use in another tree, but a tree to look for another pot.
What kind of a pot would you recommend?
Well, we're going to have to wait until this is designed, and then we'll talk about that. But I want you to understand that many times it's something I have a really strong feeling about, is how trees blend with the pots. You should not see the pot, you should not see the tree first. You should see it as a unit. Just totally works together.
This is almost more of the tree, we use the term, this is more of a masculine pot, whereas the tree doesn't seem very.
It's a very masculine pot, and this tree is going to be very feminine.
How do you make gin? Do you have to treat it after it's done?
Okay, once we make this gin, do you have to treat it after it's done? Yes, there are different ways to treat it. People use lime sulfur all the time. I don't necessarily like it as a generic fix-all. The lime sulfur makes it turn white or whitish color. Actually, at that same show I was just at, there were a lot of them that had the yellow in the lime sulfur still in it because they never cleaned it off, and that was terrible. I'm using a lot of stains. I'll use Minwax puts out some stains. One is onyx color, a black. I can actually show you partway through this. You can put it up on the screen. A picture of a tree I have that has been through a fire. I mean, way, way in its past. And the person that owned it before had put lime sulfur on it. So it shows as a lighter colored wood on that tree. But one day when I was out watering it, this wonderful black appeared. I hadn't looked at it, I guess. You just water and you're looking at the water thing and not paying attention to the trees. We've talked about that. And I started to look at this tree, and it was like this black just evolved all over it. You could see the wonderful crevices, the lightness. So there are some of these trees that I am now using a black onyx oil stain, Minwax, again. I'll also use, there's maple, there's pecan, there's as many stains out there as you can think of, and certain trees just really need a different colorant on them. I mean, if you can put lime sulfur on there to preserve the wood, you're actually putting a colorant on it. And this other stuff, the oil, also preserves the wood. As long as it looks natural and it's not pink or chartreuse or something that's very unnatural looking, I mean, it's fine. But that tree I have absolutely went through a bad fire somewhere in its life. It was one that was collected. It's probably about, I don't know, 1,600 years old. Old piece. Just a marvelous tree. I call it my devil tree because it looks like it. It has this absolutely evil face and all these flames of gin coming out of the top. So it just deserves to be black.
You use oil, not water base?
For that, there is a wood hardener called PC Petrifier that is a water-based, and I prefer to use that for hardening the wood. But then I also use the oil for the coloration. So I prefer that more than the, what is it? I guess the Minwax wood hardener was the other one that it just, it just doesn't do the same. It doesn't follow the water. So you can spray this with water, and you put the PC petrifier on it, and that's going to suck, just like the lime sulfur, right into the wood. If you do the oil-based, just for that, the wood hardener oil base does not work the same way. You know, it just sits on top and leaves it looking fakey like. But when I use the stain, I have to be very careful because the stain does blend into everything. So if you're close to the edge like this, where there's some wood here, some bark, and your wood's right next to it that you're cleaning off, it can bleed over onto the bark. So what I do then is just take a very dry brush. You know, I don't mix it up really hard. I just tap a little bit, knock it off, and then just hit those edges. And then when I get to the big field, I can get sloppy. But it's a nice thing to use. You're really going to find it looking good. Now, you can see this is getting pretty rough right here, but you can see the grain in it. And that's why I like using a clipper like this. You're actually pulling that and creating that grain, showing off what is beautiful in the tree.
Why would you need a wood hardener?
Because wood, when it's out in the elements, will rot away. And these are trees that, as bonsai, can live a very, very long time. I worked on some in Japan that were 400 or 500 years old as bonsai. And pretty spectacular. And we have trees like that now. Some of the woods are a little less able to suck in all the moisture, and that's good, but it eventually gets to the tree. So we want to preserve it as long as possible, as well as we can. There's a tree in Japan that I didn't know at the time when I was looking at it just how beautiful it was. It had a piece of gin. It was like a ribbon. It was very thin, and it just floated around. You could just feel it floating in the wind. And I found a picture of that many years later in a book from 50 or 60 years prior to that show, and it was that same piece. It hadn't changed. They hadn't lost anything. It was just a wonderful, wonderful, just an exquisite looking piece of gin. Now, so what I'm doing, I grab a little piece and then I twist and bend it around until I get what I want. And sometimes you don't get what you want, you get what the tree wants to give you, but that's also a good thing because you're really paying attention to what the tree is, and that helps you develop something that looks real. I try not to make the gins look the same on every single tree because every tree is a little different. You don't want the same shape. You don't want the same carved thing, and those little ball carvers are terrible because for this type of thing because it makes it look too even as well as cutting through the grain. Hell.
Typically you use a knob cutter.
This is not a knob cutter. It's what they call a root cutter. It's flat here. It's not carved around. If it's curved around, can you see behind me? It's a branch cutter. Well, actually, they call them root cutters. But it's got a this one's a little different than others. There are some makers you get where they're really thick down in here and they don't split through it. This is very, very thin through this point and works out very well. Now, right here, as we're getting on this, back here there was another branch that came out that was cut off. So I'm going to get up into this with a smaller root cutter.
And do you prefer root cutters for this type of work?
Yes, yes. This is my tool of choice. There's everybody has their own tool they're used to working with. But what I find, if you use the diagonal cutter, it doesn't do the same job because you're only catching the wood on one edge. You're not catching it all the way across. And that's, I've got one here. I mean, there are places I use it, but not as much as my other cutter. So this is nice. And the knob cutter is another one that doesn't really do it. But see, when we catch it here, I don't want to get near that. I want to get down in here. When we catch this, we're only catching that back side. It hasn't even touched on the top. Well, that can be all right for this little spot if I want to just get a little bit of piece, and then I roll that out. But if I wanted something consistent that went up above as well as down below, the root cutter will do it. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we've got a lot of little shards of wood on here, and I want this to look even older. So I'm going to get another tool. That is my favorite. And we've probably talked about this in the past, but it may have been a while back. These are for cleaning copper pipe fittings. Any store, go to the big box stores, they're about $2.50 a piece. Occasionally you can find them cheaper. This one's been used so much it's worn down. But this is the 1/2 inch size. Now this is the 1/2 inch. You don't want 3/4 and you don't want 1 inch. It's too big. It doesn't have the hardness to it. This has, because of the way the bristles were put on, there's little spaces in between these bristles that go around diagonally up the piece. And that's what helps make this work. It's hard enough to get down there and really scrape the wood, but it has spaces to leave the grain. So why is it so important to use this? Big reason. If you left the wood like this, we've cleaned it off. We have places where there's softwood right next to the hardwood. You know, you get a layer of soft, layer of hardwood. And this is going to cause the softwood to take in all the moisture, and then it'll just spread out to the hardwood. So as the softwood starts to rot, that allows for more moisture next to the harder part of the wood, and you're going to lose it. This will take out the softwood. Not easily. We're going to take a spray bottle. We're going to spray this baby, get it wet. If you can keep it wet for a day or so, putting a big towel, just wrap around it, keep the towel wet, and just keep it that way. And then the next day get it, it'll be fine. I'm going to, right now, just leave this covered up for about, I don't know, 20 minutes, whatever it takes. I'm going to do some work up above. And then I'm going to come back with a brush and take care of this and clean it out. This is just water, clean from your sink inside.
And that's just to soften it up a little bit.
That's just to keep it moist, just so it takes in a little bit of moisture and softens it up. And if you're going through a rainy period, leave it outside for a few days. It's not something you have to do right away. I have to, because I won't see the tree again, probably. I always hope I do, but. Okay, so now we've got some other stuff we need to do, and that is pulling down some branches. I want to get the branches very close in towards the trunk. I don't want them out flying away. I want to see something that's interesting. So we're going to be doing some more light ripping and tearing. This is a great time period. You're going to be putting the trees away. It's going to sit all winter, not having to use the lifeline the same way. The moisture will be surrounding it, and this will set and make it much stronger, and come next year when the new growth comes out, it'll be wonderful. So we have, this is a branch here. I think about whether I want to use it or not. It's got this big loop here, but it goes to the back side. It's almost hitched around like it's got a bad spot back here. It's trying to scratch. So it's one that, you know, do we keep it? Do we get rid of it? Do we bend it over some more? We could pull that out of its joint and drop it down. And that's what I'm looking at. I also want to take this top and collapse it down. It's too tall. All the interest is down here. What's up here is a different tree. So we want to pull all that together. So there's different ways to do it. I'm not going to wire out every single branch, because this technique alone is something that needs time to do it. If you try to do too much at once, you're going to pay for it. So you do little bits at a time. You could wire it if you want to in another couple months, get it out of cold frame or wherever you keep it, and start to work with it. Or wait. And we also have, as you can see, a lot of stuff starting to grow to the inside now, because we've been pushing it back. You can see all the little cuts that were made on it over a period of time to help. Where I saw something growing back inside, I cut the long shoots off, because this was quite large not too long ago, 4 years. So it's looking at it. What are we going to do? I've got all this movement here and I've got all these straight branches. I want to create something that has some interest. This branch has that interest. And it's close enough to the trunk that it would probably be all right to leave alone and not bend down. But I want to see if I can bend it. I'm not going to bend it. Actually, what I'll be doing is pulling it out of its socket. Huh? Well, it's not breaking. Breaking is doing something you don't want to do. Pulling it and realigning it is okay. So we're going to play with this. I may have somebody hold this front part down. Since you talked about it, now you get to watch it up close. So I make sure, well, if it's not going to do it, then I get my little hammer and my little chisel. And I break it loose. Go ahead. Yeah, you don't want to hold it on the other side of that chisel? It's okay. I'm not going to hurt it. So I'm going in at a diagonal. So the trunk is here. Can't quite see that, huh?
Seal told me to zoom in. It's her fault.
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm not, the camera part is not there. Let me turn this around again so they can see what I'm doing maybe. Okay, can you see this part? So I'm going right in here. I'm not going straight across where that is. And I'm also going in with the chisel reversed. So the taper, this little piece right in here, will keep the chisel going inward rather than out. So we're not going to cut the branch off. We're making a deep groove in there. And I'm going in at an angle. So the roundness here, I'm going to go in and chisel. So I'm getting a piece of that branch going back inside. And I like to try this first in bending it to see if I can pop that out without going too far into the tree. Because I really want the tree to give me what it wants. Okay? Go ahead and hold that.
Yeah, the bottoms.
It's tied in.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, it is a strong branch. I mean, this is an old tree. But you're trying to do it. I'm not trying to rip it fast. I'm doing it slow, holding on to it, and just applying pressure and keeping that pressure up so it starts to give. Because if you don't have any connection, like I'm connected to the pot here, if you don't have a good connection to something, you'll rip it right off. And you've got to be able to control that movement. So you just get it out as far as you need it, and that's it. It's going. Problem is, I've got all these gins I'm putting my fingers over. Yep. There was a big branch right up in here that had been taken off many years ago, I guess. And that's a piece of deadwood, and that's probably what's keeping this from moving as easy as I want it to move.
Kathy, approximately how deep are you trying to get the chisel in?
It's not much more than that. Quarter of an inch. I'm just trying to get it started because I really want the tree to split I don't want to put it where I want it to go. I want the tree to dictate where it goes. Because then we're holding on to those grains and that living tissue. And it'll split in such a way that this line keeps going up and that one goes over to the branch. If you make it too much your call, you're taking it where the branch doesn't want to go. No ticket for you. Now, we just keep pulling it, we keep pulling it.
There it goes, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll turn it around so you can see what we've done. Okay, can you get a picture of that?
It's still on.
Okay, oh yeah, it's still on. There's still a lot of wood here, but you can see I can pull it down even more. Okay, but it hasn't really damaged any wood because this still has something coming from the backside up and over, and down here it comes around and goes out. And this wood as well still manages to go right on up the tree. So that branch now has, to me, a little better look because before we have this big curvature in the tree that comes, let's see, this way and dives down and goes back, and that was sticking out there. Now it kind of hides behind it a little bit and will give it a nicer look. And I like over here as a front. So because of the top and everything else, you need a, here.
Do you have to treat that in any way, Kathy, now that it's open?
No. We will, you will, it'll be a good thing over the winter time to keep a rag on it, you know, make it moist just to begin with. It'll give it a little bit of protection. But it's not something that is a hazard to the tree.
What do you do to keep it in place? Do you wire it now that it's?
Oh, this is very simple. You'll love this one. That's why I eat lots of Japanese or Chinese food. Chopstick. So you don't have to wire this whole branch. The only thing you'd have to wire is this piece out here. This is not going to go anywhere. You'll never be able to get that to bend, and nor do you want to. So we simply take this and push it down in there. And then just cut that piece off. The only other thing I'm going to do, I will put, you know, some of this paper around it for now, but someone else can put something else over it. But I will make sure that this part is wired to the tree in such a way that an animal can't jump on it and break it off. So that would be taking, you know, this little piece of gin here, going around it with a wire and connecting maybe to this little gin in the back, something that's going to hold it in place so it can't be knocked off. Okay?
Now, do you need to put wound sealant in that?
Need to what?
Wound sealant?
Not wound sealant, no. Just the moisture, the rag around it will do it. This upper area I'll take with a sharp knife and just clean that edge off a little bit so the cambium will roll. I'm not going to leave it a fleshy, torn up wound. Where's my?
How long will that take to the way you want it?
Oh, within a year. I mean, it's just going to set. When you start getting more growth on the outside, that's what will take care of it.
What'll happen to that chopstick?
Oh, the chopstick can come out after, you know, another year or so. What's going to happen is you'll be setting up new tissue right around that edge, and it'll just make this part back here that much stronger. But this is really, it's still very sturdy on there, even without that little chopstick piece. That just keeps it from closing back. Okay.
And you want it to be a certain width or any width or?
What width? Which?
What do you say with the
Oh, you could put a bigger piece of wood in there if you wanted more width. For where the tree's going, to me, that's about the right point. It's not coming out this way. You know, these are two pieces that are coming out of almost the same spot. They're almost right across from each other where they come out and where the branch sets. So getting this one closer to it, not acting so much like a bar branch, helps it. So we've got this bar branch, now we're moving this over here. It's no longer a bar branch. And they're almost the same size. I mean, this one's down a hair lower, and visually it's only a hair lower. But in actual point, if this were a straight upright tree, you'd have this much room between them, but because that trunk was bent down, it's changed it. And this is one that I'm not 100% sure this is going to stay on. This is one that is very, very weak. It was one I was kind of killing off because I like this other one in the back. I like the, oh, and this has been split. This was another one. Let's see if I can show you. This part up here, this was split a couple years ago. This piece was taken off and it was split down. You can see it's pretty steady now. And that's even a thinner piece than this. So it's really nothing much to worry with.
Have you ever considered using weights, gradually, like fishing weights?
Well, how much time do you have left? There's only a couple people in here that maybe are young enough to do that on certain trees. On this one, you could put a fishing weight on there until the cow comes home. And he's living in Russia right now. So it takes a long time for that to happen. If you've got a weeping type tree, that will work. But on something like this where there's hardwood, there's deadwood all throughout this. I mean, part of what we have showing is deadwood that's in that area. The back piece was deadwood. It's not something that's going to go down. This part, yeah, that'll drop down with a fishing weight. We're going to use, however, wires, guy wires, to help crunch this top down, rather than put big, heavy wires on it. The guy wires will do a better job. Actually, to really get a good job, don't use a guy wire, use a gal wire.
My wife wants to have signs made of caution, men at work. And give one to every woman she knows who's married.
Where did she see men at work?
You get it.
I like the wire you have here. It's bigger, small, or nothing. I may end up using this, my favorite anyway, copper wire. So the club needs a few more sizes in there. Some pieces?
Well, smaller holes.
Okay. Well, we're going to start off with the copper anyway. Oh, was this re-rolled to put on the wire thing? That's not going to work. Okay, let's see what they come up with.
I was wondering the same thing when you,
When I what?
I was wondering the same thing. Somebody you know.
Don't do that with the copper wire. Leave it. Oh, God.
Why is that a bad thing?
Because when you move copper wire, it's hard to when you bend it.
Copper wire is annealed, our copper wire. They put it through a heat process that softens it. But the minute you start bending it, it hardens it up. And if it's bent in a short, you know, especially the big size wire, there you go. Okay. This will work. We need somebody with a generous heart in this club to donate some wire to it. Do you have vendors here that maybe if you supported the vendors that sell wire, you could tell them that you'll put their name in your club newsletter for the next year for a roll or two of wire. It helps. Anything helps. So what are we looking at on this tree? What's one of the problems? That we have big, heavy branches, that's good, because you want some fair-sized branch on this tree to make it look real. If everything was cut off and allowed to regrow, if you had skinny little branches on it, it's never going to look right. So there's just a few branches in here. I'm not putting the wire on to bend them down, I'm putting the wire on to bend them so I get some movement in them. And these are two, this one right here and this one here. So there's four coming out of the same place. We've got one here, a little guy, we've got this big one, we've got this big one up here. So it's this one and this one that I'm attaching to the same wire. I'm not going around the trunk, I'm simply going over the top of that mass and out those two wires. If I go around the trunk, I won't have the same support I'm going to get from just doing it right in that location. So it'll be easier to see once it's done. And I'll leave, as I go around, a little bit of room. That was a little teeny tiny dead twig that, by the way, made that snap. You don't have to worry, it wasn't my fingernail.
Have you ever wired your finger to a tree?
No, but I've considered wiring some students' fingers to the tree. No, that would be kind of hard to do at this point. I guess when you're first starting out, anything is possible. But the more you do it, it's amazing, isn't it? The more you do something, the better you get at it. So if you're a newbie and you're really feeling upset that you're not able to wire as well as the next person, just keep working at it. It'll happen. Just all of a sudden, this little light goes off and you start to you'll feel the rhythm. You'll understand a little bit more what needs to be done. So I've wired this one to this one. Now before I bend them, I've got a couple more I want to wire in that area. And if I try to bend that first, it's going to be tough to move it with all the other wires around it. So I can get by with a... Okay, when I get this done, I'm going to set up for all the other work that I need to do on the tree. And it might be a good time, I know somewhere in here you want to get over there and catch the cake and cookies that might be left. I don't want to keep you from getting there. So some people like to graft these trees and put a different foliage on it. That's entirely up to whoever wins this, if you want to do that. This foliage will get tight, but it takes it a while. Like I said, I haven't been working on that part of it. How many people here have a prostrata? Anybody? Prostrata. Do you know your junipers? Do you have procumbens? Oh, one in the back. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good for you.
Generic tenensis I have.
Okay.
So Genensis Pfizer is the variety?
Fitzer. So there's a lot of different Fitzers. I had a lot of fun with Fitzers before I went to Japan. I found this nursery that had 15-gallon Fitzers, and they were selling for $5 a piece. I went a little crazy. I think I bought, I went over there every day, it seemed like, getting some more. I must have got, oh, there's that little piece that made that noise. It was wonderful. And unfortunately, it was right before I went to Japan. Didn't know I was going at the time, so then I had 100 of these things all over the backyard. Well, yeah, you buy one, you buy 100, it doesn't matter. Well, yeah, I mean, it was wonderful material. Some of these things were huge, big, heavy trunks, lots of great foliage. And at the time, we were working with different people. There was a gentleman from Southern California, Mazishi. I don't know if he's ever been here. Great guy with grafting, and he would graft them over to some sort of shimpaku, the kishu, or we didn't have a toigao at the time, but it was great material. Oh, wonderful water lines in it, you know, where you could see these big ripples go up the trunk, movement, everything else. One piece, I think about the last tree I bought over there, and luckily I had a pickup truck, so these were all hanging out of the truck in all different directions. But one piece that I bought was a big Fitzer that was in, it must have been maybe a 20-gallon can or bigger. But it was big enough that it would have filled up this whole wall. It had this huge spread of foliage going up like that, just coming out. It would have been great against a house or somewhere. So to get it into my car, in front of the guy that sold it to me, I pulled out my loppers and I cut most of the foliage off except for the stuff that was back in. He just about passed out. All that time growing all that foliage, I just couldn't go back after that. I figured I better get out of there while the getting was good. And you know, he just didn't understand that stuff.
Yeah, there's a wanted poster over there with your name.
Probably, yeah. Do not sell, yeah.
So did any of these survive those?
Oh yeah, a lot of them survive. There's a lot of them that are still around, and then people use them for, you know, grafting and learning how to do all sorts of things. Oh yeah, they survive. That one, or a couple of them that we grafted were the ones that had that variegated yellowish looking white. Oh God, don't get variegated junipers. They always look sick. It doesn't matter. I mean, they may look good in the ground, but even there they look sick.
Like two. I mean, beautiful blue-green foliage on them.
Yeah, the blue-green is lovely, yeah.
And just get it to chase back, it'd be good.
Yep. Okay, so this one I want to pull down a little bit more. This one's not going to be ripped off. We're just literally bending the wire, just pushing it down, getting that little movement in it. It's okay. I want you to take a peek at what just happened. Okay? Can we bring the camera up here?
Can you turn it around? Because I can't get it.
Well, I thought maybe you'd have to come up here to do it. So what we're looking at is this little piece right here, where my thumb is. Okay, that's dead. The wood on top is dead. So all we did, the dead wood, when I went to bend it, the wood that was already dead just came up off the living piece. So all the living stuff is down here, and that you can see there's a callus right there that's already rolled over, and then this little spike is the dead part that lifted up.
This is not real newy, but how do you know what's dead wood?
You feel it after a while. You can feel the tension in a bark, and different types of trees give you a different feel. So when I went to redo that one, I knew there was a hard spot in it, and I was thinking I could get by without breaking it, but it was fine. Softer wood, you can feel it. It's a tightness. It doesn't want to twist. There's just something in there. Sometimes it might have been, there was a branch that was here that was cut back, just a flush cut to the piece. It might have been something years ago that someone wanted to put, you know, a graft into or do something in that line, which would have been a cut. But this one here, the way it's rounded at the base, it looks like there was a dead twig or a twig that died, and it just sent that little bit back into the tree. So the rest of it's fine because everything underneath has not been injured at all, and that's where the living tissue is.
On the other side is a little knob. If you put your hand around from where you are, is that dead? I'm assuming it's dead.
On the other side,
Right.
over here,
Right.
where?
just have to, when you can see it on the picture, you can see a little tiny
It's
nub.
where the old branch, the other branch was split.
There's a nub.
Oh, in here?
No, a little higher,
No.
Higher up?
right?
Keep going.
keep going,
Keep
down,
going.
right there.
No, no.
Oh, that's a dead piece.
Down.
Like a hole.
There's a branch.
Oh, yeah, that's, well, a branch had cut off or been ripped off or something in the past, right, so that hole, but there's one right next to it here
And
that,
that's dead?
this is dead, and this is dead, yes, okay. I thought you were talking about the branch I just finished working on. All right, now we're going to see how many other dead pieces we can find.
Now, do you have to do anything to address the dead spot that's cracked?
No, that one, because all we did was lift off the deadwood, and if you look around it, it's all calloused over it. So the living piece is really strong. And like I said, if you want to come up, take a peek, you're welcome to. So we're looking at what side of the tree at this point. We're looking at the front, and we have all this stuff coming out. Now here, I've got to watch. I've got this branch comes out of the trunk. I'm going to do it this way instead of off the side. Here's the trunk line, and it comes out, it goes up. There's a little knob here where there was a branch or something, and then it makes this little sweep like that. So where it goes up, if I bend that down or off to the side, I'll do a lot better than if I try to bend it straight down. If I come down really hard at that angle, I'm going to be going against that old whatever was in there. So I'm going to twist the branch around. You can actually see me change the foliage. Yep. Well, that's exactly where it went. We can do more. That's the only problem with old trees. Sometimes there's so many little spots in there, and you've got to be careful with them. That's the same spot. Yeah, so it's right here, just right up here on the top. You can, it's just another piece like down below. There's a dead piece right in here. Now, right at the edge of that, you can see some of that living tissue. But this little point that came off is gone. Everything underneath is still good. On the back side, over in here, it's still good. See in here? I don't know if you can see that. This over in here is fine. Everything here is fine. It's this little piece, this little pointed wood, just like that other piece right in there.
Now that's gonna be
That's the
a
point.
weak spot forever, right? I mean, that's never gonna
No,
change.
not forever, because you get new growth around there. That living tissue will keep building up. It's like this one that I showed you on the other side here. Where was it? This one. That's been split out. So this is, I mean, you'd have to have a big monkey land on this one to take it down.
Could you trim that knob, the knob from the old piece off of there?
Which one? You mean this one up
Yeah.
here? Yeah, it can be cleaned up. Bothers you, doesn't it? Yeah, me too. I'm not gonna trim it off. I'm gonna make a gin out of it. But it's got that flat thing, so yes, I wasn't even thinking about that one. I was fixating on other areas. So I'm going to take a few pieces of wood out from the center so it looks like we've got two areas moving around there, make it look a little more interesting. The main thing is when you move trees, you do it slowly. You don't just take and go in one spot. You just gradually start working it. Because if you go too fast, you will break it all the way through, and then there's nothing, you don't glue them. Here goes another pop.
When you're first making the cut for the gin, how do you know how far to go?
Well, for this one, it had a split, what I could see as a split in the center, so I just compounded that split, brought it down a lot lower. So now it looks like the little beak of a bird of some sort. I'm going to take a little bit more off underneath. So, LA, do you have any bonsai? Do you know anything about it? Have you played with it or dabbled with it?
I have a few trees, but I don't know if we call them bonsai.
But they're on their way.
Yeah.
Okay, good. How long have you had them?
I just started around a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, a real newborn. Good for you, good for you. I'll tell you, it just changes the way you look at everything. You're going to have to up your insurance, your car insurance, because you become a real menace on the highway. You're going to be looking at trees and not paying. Look at that tree! Huh? We've all done that, yeah. Stop the car now! Why? What's wrong? Look at that tree! Especially, it's not just now with the color, it's when they're bare. When you can really see the branches and how to make it work. Oh, gorgeous.
And you know when you're in trouble, when you're looking at a wall column and going, check out the bark on that one. I've caught myself doing that on a couple of books.
Yeah. Okay, so that's thinned out a little bit. A little bit more could be done later. I don't know if you can see that from in there. You may have to come up to see it later. You can. It's this one right here. Let me turn that around a little bit. Nope, that's too far. Wrong way. Is that it? Where? You can see it. I can't.
Yeah, right in the bottom.
I don't think it's right here.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't look as good from that vantage point as it could. It looks like it's giving you the finger. Okay, you'll look at it later. It looks nice. All right, so I've got a few more things here to bend down, to twist in, to fill in the front. I don't always, we have something going on here that we need to think about. We've got 5 branches really, almost coming out of the same spot, plus the main trunk line. And they open up. And it's really a wonderful spot. It's right at the outside of a curve, coming towards the front as well as going off to the side. So we can open that up. What I want to do is lift that one branch up a little bit that's coming right off what now is the front. So if I pull that up a tiny bit, and then bring the other one on top of it down so we collapse it, it'll give us a bigger, stronger point, and then we're going to be able to bring that top down into that zone. So let's move this one up first. Try to do it this time without any cracks. So you could just call this one, if you need to name your trees, call it Old Crack. This one has this big dead spot right here. So that wood is dead inside. So we'll probably hear something. See if I say it, it doesn't happen. I'm using my pliers to help pull it, so I've grabbed a hold of that wire. There we go. Nice.
No, because if you're holding onto the wire, you're not damaging the.
I'm not damaging the wood. You don't touch the wood, right? But I have, when you do the wire, when you grab the wire, you can move a branch. So this part of the branch you move over here, and then you grab this part and you just move it this way. So you can get more movement out of it. If you're just bending a branch like this, you're bending in one spot, and that's when it really does break. So it helps if we can get this little, swishy movement going. this one I want to be able to twist a little bit. Okay, that's better. And this one may end up being one that is ginned out. That's that one that put that one crack, the second crack in it, the second one you heard. Because there's 3 on this side and then this one staying out off by itself, and it's right next to this branch. So looking at it, we don't need everything in that spot. I want to be able to see the movement. So we may end up not letting you take it off. I may have the pleasure of taking it off. After I bend this one, make sure it doesn't. Cool. Aren't you getting used to that now? Isn't that a good sound?
Right down over there is having a hard time.
Take them out of here. Do what? Well, you'll see. There's very, very, very little. Now, on that one, because it was a different crack, wasn't it? Did you hear it? It was much softer. So we're going to use one of my favorite things. I'm going to put some parafilm on it. So that'll just keep that moisture in it. Ooh, looks like it did well on the plane. Okay. Here, I'm going to have you look at this so you can see just how little that crack is. That's right there. See, feel that right there. What's up there?
It's like a little nub.
That's a little nub. So right in front of that, there's practically nothing there. That's right.
Yeah, it almost looks like the bark's just lifting up.
Yeah. Parafilm, one of my favorite things. Parafilm, you'll find if you know anybody that works in a laboratory, you can now get it online. I like the stuff that has the paper on it, and I like it about a 2-inch wide roll. Don't go for these little skinny 3/4 or 1/2-inch wide things they call grafting tape. It's not the same thing. It doesn't work the same way. It's too thin, and when you go to pull it, it just thins out. So I'm parafilm. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna get you some stuff. If you get it as a club, would be the best way, and then you just sell a yard of it for $1, and the club will make a little bit of money on it. But it's this paraffin type film that's on a plastic on the back side, and this is what that. Oh, in front of me.
There we go. That's perfect. They use it to seal beetroots and stuff.
Yeah, odd-shaped things.
So that's the film, branches, not the plant.
This is the film. This tells you about it. This doesn't stretch, it rips. I'm confusing you. Okay, so let me show you this stuff again. I like it this way. You've got to be careful you don't mess up the edges of it, because when you mess up an edge, as you pull it, it breaks. But the beauty of this, it goes on, unlike your tape that's used in nurseries, that looks clear just like this. That stuff does not break down. The branch will just grow and it'll engulf it. You'll see these tags hanging on things all the time with the little plastic coming out. This stuff will break down within a year, but it stretches. And when it stretches, it does something else. Here's the part that's not stretched. I can go around my finger, and it doesn't adhere to itself. Once it stretches, you can go around your finger or branch or anything else, and it adheres to itself.
Thick saran wrap.
And so it's like a saran wrap underneath almost, but it breaks down within a year. Some places in California it'll break down sooner than that. But it's great if you got a little crack, if you're doing grafting, if you're, for any reason you want to do some dead wood work on the top, but the edges you want to keep in good shape because you want to then just use this over it. Actually you could, but what's going to happen if it hits the sharp places on the rock, it's going to break. So you might have to put some raffia on first and then put it over the raffia. But you need something that's going to hold a root over on the rock. You need something that's really able to keep it tight against the rock. This stuff, because it does allow a little bit of give, it allows the tissue underneath to grow. And if you're doing root over rock, those roots are just going to push their way wherever they want to go. But it's, I'll pass this around. I mean, you can write the information down if you want, but it's really better if you just get it. They come in big rolls. You can find them sometimes, and if everybody pulls that piece, it's not going to last but the first person or two. But it really, truly is something great to have. I use it all the time. I love this stuff. Okay, now we're going to pull this top down. We're going to do it in a different way. We're going to use our tubing. And when I cut tubes, you know, we all are, well, almost, of the age where we either do ourselves or know somebody that is on oxygen or has been in a hospital, and they just throw these tubes away if they're not using them. And you can buy them in aquarium stores too, but you know, if you can get them for free, why not? And I take a wire cutter and I cut through the back edge. I don't know if you can see the little cuts in that. Okay, up a little higher. And what I do, I use the side that's a little curved, and the wire cutter rarely goes all the way through it. If you half watch, you're going about 3/4 of the way into it. Don't make little tiny things. And this allows the wire, when it goes into it, to just lightly curve around the branch. If you don't do that, it ends up pinching in the middle, and that's going to cause a problem. So you get pinched in right here. It doesn't fold over nicely. Okay, so we're going to use some copper wire.
And the tubing's just to protect the bark, right?
The tubing is to protect the bark. You want something that's soft. I mean, you could put it over a cork if you wanted to, but that's going to roll around on the bark. It's not going to hold. This is just something nice. And I don't care if it's black tubing, if it's white colored. The color doesn't matter. It's just what you can stand looking at. We just get this because there's so much of it.
And the price is right.
And the price is right. But even you can find it at hardware stores and other places. So what I'm going to do is put this on through this little tube I've prepared. And I'm going to do a different kind of a tie down than what you've probably seen. A lot of people will do the double string of wire and then just twist it in the middle or twist it this way. That's wasting a lot of wire, and you can't get it down as far. If you do it my way, you can really move the tree. So what is that? We
That's
take...
from the right way.
I'm going to put a couple different ones on. I want to pull this part down, but I really have to pull this section down. And I'm going to go above. There's a little branch right here. I'm going to go above that. Actually, I'll go this branch. One that's not as important. So I just want to make sure it's not going to slip down the trunk. And then I'll find a place to put it to. And I'm going to have you practice cutting some of these.
What is it, 3/4 of the way through, both sides, or just the one side?
One side, one side.
Okay,
Okay, usually the side that bows out.
okay.
Okay,
All right, so this
just
side here.
because it, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so I'm going to put several of these on the tree in different places, and we're going to work it. And the reason I like to do this instead of that other loopy business is because I can continue to drop it down. I mean, it doesn't get to a point where you have to take it off and replace that loop. So there's another thing we could do. I could actually grab this. I've got that wire, that aluminum wire here, that we put on in the middle between two branches where I went over the branches this way, and I'm going to get underneath that wire so I don't even need a tube in that section. probably need to take this tree down a little lower. Okay, somebody want to pull the turntable out from underneath the tree, please?
Do you want it off the table?
Well, it doesn't matter. I just have to be able to reach this. Okay, and leave my wire cutters for a
I
second,
have to, yeah.
just for a minute. Thank you. Okay, you can continue. So when I do this, I leave enough room to be able to get my pliers. So there's no tension on this wire. I put the loop up here. I left a little slack in the wire, and I put a loop down below. There's all different ways you can tie it down, but this is just one that gives me more control. Okay.
You need the wire cutter or this?
No, these.
If you need to cut more holes in, let me know.
Getting good at it, huh?
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
If I knew that you were gonna use the scissors, I would have been up here longer ago.
Well, this is when I need it.
Okay.
Okay, let's cut that right here.
Okay, where? Right there?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's anybody else, oh, this, I love the way it smells.
Everybody saw it? Parafilm?
Okay, so you can keep that piece for the club name if you want. You know, the club needs to get it. It really is a good way to do it. Have one person get it, and then just share it with everybody else. So I'm going to put wire on to pull this top down. It's about 2 inches away from the other one here. I'm going to go to a slightly different position because this is our front, and I want to pull that towards us a little more. So one is going to pull it straight down, and the other is going to pull it forward. You just have to find a way to get that forward. Let's go down to this one. Actually, I might do it back here, would be better.
Why that wire as opposed to like a thicker one?
Thicker one, this is aluminum. No,
Okay.
no, this is copper.
Okay.
Okay, if it was aluminum, I wouldn't be doing it because it'll just break. I like thin wires. I like wires that aren't necessarily going to show up. I don't want to see something thick. I can also get a better twist on this. So now what I'm going to do is start pushing this down. I pull it towards me and I twist. And I don't know if you can see that from back there. You can? Okay. And now I'll go to the other wire. Try to give a little bit better look over here. Okay, in this section, let me put that underneath here. So I pull this one towards me, and I start twisting. Maybe pulling it this way will help. There's little snaps, huh?
Branch is bowing toward you.
Okay. Hopefully it's going to do a lot more than that. Get down on your knees. You don't want any tension on that wire when you're twisting, and you don't want the wire to start twisting over itself or it breaks. And again, if you want it down farther, you wait a month or 2 months, not necessarily during the winter, but you can wait a little bit of time and then take it down another couple notches. But it's always pulling this towards you so you're not rolling over the top of the twist you already have on there. Okay, and I'll show you, I'll do this without, not on the tree, but just so you can pass it around to see what I'm talking about. If you, let's see, where's the, just hold the plier both sides. Okay. So I'm trying to see how I can do this. Maybe,
Where's your chopstick?
well, it's not that. I've got to do it in such a way, I can't hold the two edges. I can't do it the way I thought I'd be able to. I might be able to just do this. Okay, so this one is the correct way, and the one down at the other end will be the one that's going to break if you did it on the tree. Same when you're tying your tree into the pot, if you twist it the wrong way. So I started off the right way here. Now I'm going to pretend we've got it on the tree and we're not paying attention, and it's starting to twist over itself. And that's what happens. It stretches and it's gone. Okay. So this one, the one with the loop around it on the top, okay, that's the correct way. I mean, it bends, but you'll see it's not twisted over itself. This one down here is starting to twist over itself, and when you're doing that, it'll break. It'll just stretch and that's it. So you can pass that out.
I always wind up.
That's me too.
Always.
So now as we're looking at this tree, we've got a little bit more to think about. What's happening? This is coming this way, and the tree wants to put a lot of energy into that direction. But the top now is coming back the other way, so it almost looks like it's falling over. So when this tree is potted, if you notice a lot of roots are out of the ground, this tree needs to be
There are wedges in the drawer.
Oh. There are wedges in the drawer.
You like that?
I like that.
Did you bring calendars this year?
No. I don't have any of my own calendars. We had a guy that used to do them, and he's not doing them anymore, and I haven't made contact with anyone else in Japan, so it's been a while. I don't know why that's not going in there. I didn't do it.
No, I do that before too, moving it.
Okay, so if we start to move it this way, it's going to look a little better, a little more natural. We're going to move this head down just a tiny bit more, but not this part. We're going to bend this part down so it starts to roll over it. We're going to do some trimming back on these. I'm probably going to move this guy back some more. And this one, in reality, later on, could actually come off. You could make a gin out of that if you wanted to. This one very easily could have a gin out of it. How easy? Where's my wire cutter? Why am I feeling comfortable doing that? Because we've got 4 or 5 others in this same area, and this one's not important. And we have this nice one that lays right up on top that's going to fit in there. So all this can just come off. And we will gin out that little piece. And then you look at even this one, this whole piece down the line, if it's your choosing, can come off. It's not necessary. If you want, and you just wait for it to bud back, that's fine. If it doesn't come out much farther than this, you can move some of these around. We've got a couple pieces back there that are nice and tight. This one could also get a little better and move back in that area. So we're losing this part. That'll make a big difference. And we've got some little floppy stuff. So what kind of time do I have here? 3 minutes, 5, 15?
Huh? 20 to 10.
What time does it usually close up?
Whenever you're done.
Okay.
Be here 2 in the morning.
Not me, I don't have to be in. I'm on vacation this week.
There you go. Okay, so we're going to put some more wire
I'm not doing anything.
on this. I'm going to use what I have here. And you want to open, could you open this one up for me? Just takes a while to open it. I think they're all the same. Oh, that's it.
My bond, but I used all my days before, and they were retail.
Okay.
Can I use this on these ties?
Yes. Oh, go this way. Right through here. Yeah.
Right through here?
Yeah, that's easier. Otherwise, you're hitting the wire.
Yeah, sure.
So we'll just do.
These is why the club can't have nice things.
So I'm going to wire that little bit, and then I'm going to do this branch with the wire with this brush. And were you selling any tickets or? Time to get started.
I know, right? Me too.
Yes.
Somebody once told me that you had recommended using preparation paint.
Not me.
True, or is that?
That's probably rumored, but it wouldn't hurt. All you're trying to do is keep the moisture in that wound. So if you're doing a wound, let's say this thumbnail is a wound that you've cut, the important part, yes, do it over the wood itself, but you've got to go around that cambium about 1/4 of an inch away from the wound all the way around, because it's this living tissue here that's going to help it cover up. You want that to heal. You want that to stay moist. And if you'd only put the sealer right on the dead wood part, it's not going to do you any good.
I was always wondered if that was true. Someone told me that.
Well, somebody did. I know I've heard it around before. Any of those things will work. You know, it's just something that's not going to wash off. It's not going to dry up. I mean, every time you get into it, you'll probably regret the time you put it on.
I usually use clay with a little bit of Vaseline mixed in that. That's really what I use.
Yeah, whatever. You know, some of them help you heal quicker, and some don't. It is. It's a lovely tree.
Look at that bark.
I know.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. One of the things I want to mention: bark. To remove bark or not remove bark. On so many junipers, people peel the bark off of it because they want to see the color underneath. Little story. I think there are 2 people dead at the collection now because of that, or will be shortly. Do not remove bark. If your tree has, say, generously more than maybe 70% dead wood on it, visibly very strong dead wood, then maybe peeling the bark off to show the color underneath will be fine. What color does it show underneath? If it's a Sierra juniper, it's going to be red, or very pinkish red. It's very pretty color. Others are just kind of dull brown nothing, and that doesn't do you any good. So I like the bark. We had a tree, or have a tree at the collection. It's an absolutely, or was an absolutely wonderful tree. had a great feeling of age because of the bark. It's a formal upright. That's a what they call bunjin style, a little bit of foliage at the top, but exquisite taper coming down, sense of age. The person that owned it, that donated it to the collection, told somebody there, who's a good friend of both of ours, and told him, do not touch this bark. And he went ahead on one day when he was there, and he took the bark off. And all you have now, instead of a tree that looks a couple hundred years old, it looks like an 18-year-old seedling. Just totally ruined the whole feeling. Yes, we'll get the bark back. In my lifetime, I don't know. But it's not something you just do because you think you're supposed to take bark off a juniper. Think about what is really there, huh?
I'm so happy to hear somebody else say that, because I
Oh,
like the bark too.
drives-
Somebody would strip the bark off.
You strip the bark off, that's it. You know, it just, this bark is beautiful. It's old, it's flaky, it's bubbling up. It has a lot going for
They
it.
argue that the bark, maybe it bugs in the bark. It's like,
What?
I've heard people say that, oh, if you take the bark off to prevent the bugs from getting in the bark. And I'm like, it makes no sense to me.
As if that's going to stop them. Yeah, I don't know what it just, everybody has their own way of looking at something, but you got to think about what you're really doing. It's not going to help most trees. It does damage them. The looks, you know, everything what we do is about creating the feeling of age, and nothing about creating the feeling of youth. You know, we all been there. We know what that's like. It's nothing. You get older, you know, you got a lot more going for you. So it's the same with our trees. And we should appreciate our wrinkles just like you appreciate the old bark in the trees. You know, those are battle scars. Do what? So I always put lots of wiggles in the branches just because I like them to move. I don't want straight things. So I'm putting wire on a few of these branches while doing the ticket bit. And I will put a little chopstick in the front, a plumb line, so when this tree is redone, this could go very easily into a nice oval pot. You know, you might not want to take all this off at once. So gradually, you'll see what it's like underneath where the roots are. It usually has a pretty good root growth. But
the size of that pot, just the depth?
yeah, easily. Yeah, you could, I mean, down the line, you could go even shallower, but don't overdo it in the beginning. The main thing is, don't be afraid to try things. You know, and if you're a little leery on trying it on a tree that's in a pot, go out and try it on one of your trees in the yard. Everybody's got junipers in their yard or something similar to it. So if it's a new technique, try it out on that. That tree has a lot more to work with than a tree in the pot, and you'll get your technique down. You'll see just how far you can pull it. You do it slowly. The main thing is, if you're pulling a branch down, you don't go like this. You just take your time and gradually let those fibers split apart, and they'll do much better. If you think it's a problem, put the wrap over it, just like I did over the dead piece.
Coming through.
Ooh.
Don't lose your,
Yeah, first bump.
I mean, I got only one left.
Only one what left?
He had 3 of them, and now there's only one. The little frogs he had on.
Oh, the frogs. Oh, I thought you meant trees.
That's why he's like bouncing in the back.
Oh.
So they're probably in the back.
They should, yeah, take them off and put them in a bag when you're,
And then put it back on.
and then put it back on, right. Okay, I've got one more tie down here. Let's see. You know, I don't like yellow tickets.
My ticket gets drawn, I love yellow tickets.
Does anybody else like coffee before I put it away? Going once, going twice?
Actually, I'm going to use that dead piece in the back. All right, I'm going to do a couple cuts on this now that we've sold the tickets. Did I say that? Let's let's put it, where's the turntable? Too far away from here?
It's coming back.
Oh, okay. Flip this baby back up. I got to do a little bit of work on that, and I've got one more thing.
Now, is that supposed to be the new orientation now once it goes to a different pot?
Yes, and I'm going to put a guideline on it to show what we need. Okay, so there's a few things that need to be done here. Later on next year or somewhere, you'll be wiring some of this out. It doesn't have to happen yet. We'll just let it get healthy through the winter. But this guy, there's so little on here, and he's not really needed. And he's pretty ugly. Nice little Deadwood. I've got something on here that you could practice taking off. So cleaning that off. And this piece is a little bit long, so we'll need to leave another little gin on that. So in the future, when these are dropped down next year, whenever you want to wire it, then this branch could actually go away. It shows off that visual of that pushing to that side is a little more interesting. You can leave this on or not, so that's up to you. But this front one needed to come off. And now we're going to very quickly take this brush, and I'm going to go over this back and forth. It shreds it a little bit. But when it dries up, you go back over it with the brush just in that direction. It'll knock some of that fuzz off. Then you re-wet it. You do it again and again. So several times of doing this, and you'll have just absolutely wonderful little graining in that branch. And it'll cover up a lot of the little spots. This area here could come down, round off just a little bit. But this one here, we've got this little dead point in there. Go with the grain, not against it. Not this way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send home this one, which is a little smaller. It's shorter. It's been used more. But it has a lot of good hole in it, and if you don't have one right away, you'll be able to keep doing the work.
Kathy, now would you stain that wood like?
Okay, would I stain this wood? Yes. How you stain it is up to you. I mean, if you really do like the white, you can use the white. I like onyx. I like grays. I like something that maybe it's more of a wood tone, the pecan on here or something. It warms it up.
That it has multiple colors.
I like the multiple colors, and that's the black. If you use that Minwax, the black stain, don't shake it up first. Make sure they don't shake it up. So it's thinned out, and I go down below with a very fine, like a toothpick or chopstick, something thin, grab a little bit of the black, bring it up through the oil, and take my paintbrush and just hit, not so much of the black, I get the paintbrush with a little oil on it first, and then pick some of that up, and then go over it, and find something you like. Get a regular piece of wood and practice on that.
That looks pretty with the multiple.
That is so pretty with all these multiple colors. Yeah, it really is. It's lovely. But you practice on stuff you've taken off, or you practice on something that fell off a tree outside. You know, it's all about practice.
Doesn't different wood color differently?
Different wood will color a little differently, yes. It absorbs it a little more, it absorbs a little less. It depends on the density in the wood. But the stains are made so they're pretty good, but I just don't like it when they're really thick. You know, the thick, you don't need it to be a black. I'm going to show you a picture in a few minutes of my devil tree so you see what I'm talking about. I haven't put the black on it in those photos. It's going on now, and I'm just taking my time doing it. Here, I'm just grabbing those shreds and pulling them. You know, you can do that. You can grab it with a tweezer or a plier and just pull on that. But keep it wet. Keep a towel on it. The paper towel's fine, but just a cotton towel would be best. You just keep it on there for a couple days and go back over it. I'm going to do a quick job on cleaning this up. So, have we picked the winning number yet? Is anybody won?
You have it.
I have to pick it. Okay.
Pressure's on you.
The pressure's on. There you go. So I'm looking at this part in here. This is still, it's going down, it's dead. It's alive. Can you see that pink right here? That's the lifeline, and that's what you're going to follow down here. There's no pink here, is there? It's all brown. So the lifeline is somewhere below that. So you just gradually start to clean it out. You get something sharp you can scrape it with. You could leave it that way through the winter and catch it in the spring. Keeping a rag on here will help soften that up too and make it easier to get a hold of. So all those are things you need to pay attention to. So this can be cleaned up. Anyway, to do the work on this tree that needed to be done, I really felt it was not a good idea to totally wire it out, but it's very easy to see where the branches need to go. And these branches that are left are pretty thin branches, so they'll be easy for almost anybody to wire. Okay, and if you want a big one like this down, you just know to put that little tube with a wire on it and attach it to this one underneath. It'll hold fine. I'm going to put a little plumb line on the front of it. We can do that as soon as we pull the ticket. That way, if I don't like somebody, I won't put it on.